Hello, everyone. I am Dreadton. I am TNP's Minister of Radio. I am also a current election commissioner and former associate justice, and I am here to answer your questions. All right. Our first question is from El Fiji. What have you found most challenging aspect of being Minister of Radio? I think the most challenging aspect of the ministry has been getting people involved and bringing them up to the technical level needed to run their own particular shows. A lot of the Ministry of Radio's work involves editing and scripting and hosting and scheduling, and not everybody's willing to learn any aspect of that. Or if they do join, they think, oh, well, then I have to host shows and I don't like to listen to my voice. I don't want to be on a voice chat. And trying to break people through those barriers has been a particular issue. The ministry tends to be quite small since we first started. It's usually 2 or 3 active people at a time. And I think that is going to be a challenge for the foreseeable future as we grow the ministry. Sorixia asks, it's often been said that radio's big problem is that it's understaffed. Is this true, and how so? If so, how did this happen, and what has your administration been doing to remedy this problem? It is true. A ministry of radio is traditionally understaffed. Most ministries are. We have a couple couple things that are providing a bit of a barrier. One, like I said earlier, was the technical. 2 is the perception, and 3 is the fact that we are a new ministry. What we've been doing, I haven't made a big push on recruitment this term, and that's mainly because I've been working on getting the ministry set up for long-term success. Fiji established the ministry and gave us the proof of concept and how this ministry could work and help the region. And he set it up for the next person to come in. And what I've been mainly focusing on this term was ensuring that all future ministers for the ministry of radio would be able to come in and hit the ground running and not have to worry about developing welcoming telegrams or direct messages for people who are interested in joining, or working on embassy formatting and show formatting. Because as a minister, not only is your job to run your ministry, but to ensure that the knowledge you gain is passed on to the next person. The loss of institutional knowledge will be the hindrance to any effective running of government, and that's something that has to be addressed while the ministry is young in order for it to be successful in the long term. So a lot of this particular term has been dealing with administrative tasks behind the scenes while still pushing out regular radio shows. We're not as active this term as I would have liked, but we are set up for a good success in the future. Sorixia asks, what do you like most about your job as Minister of Radio? What I like most about it is we're giving voice to people in parts of our region and other regions that you wouldn't normally hear from. Take, for example, we have coming up some interviews with role players that are going to take the form of an in-character interview. So we have the role play reel where we keep track of role play happenings, but now we have this new aspect that we could bring to part of our community in a manner that they haven't had in the past. So I like that. I also like that I'm meeting a lot of people in the game that I wouldn't have met through other means. I'm going to be doing a show with the Rejected Realms. That's not really something a region I've had contact with before. So meeting these new people is always exciting. So Fiji asks, because radio is a ministry that requires so much technical knowledge, recording, editing, etc., in what ways can staffers participate that isn't tied to each? is this mainly research and scripting? Partly mainly research and scripting. Show development is a major stumbling block for us. Having only one person develop a show or come up with the show ideas leads to bottlenecks in the long term. Researching shows, researching regions. So like we're going to be doing our show with the rejected realms. So research on how their elections work, how their government works is a way people can contribute. Another is to develop or communicate with other ministries. Like we're having the RP show with the Ministry of Culture. So having somebody who's able to reach out to other ministries and other governments would help a big time. Technical knowledge it also can be learned on the job. Editing shows, developing shows can be taught, and it's something that we are working on teaching people. Yeah, I was going to close out with talking to other ministries and talking to other governments is helpful. Research is helpful. All that contributes. Training, I wanted to develop training programs for new people to learn some of the basic stuff, such as stripping audio out, using Audacity, using some of the tools we use to help edit shows. Training on the job is something that, as a ministry, we have to develop. Technical restrictions really shouldn't be a block to having citizens come in and help the ministry. So Riskia asks, what do you think is the key difference between radio and communications, and do you think it was warranted to split them? I do think that it was warranted to split them. Ministry of Radio and communications are both time consuming, and when you have two beasts that both want all your time, you kind of have to divide that up. And splitting radio from communications allows radio to develop, grow, and establish its own base so that it's not eating up all of communications times, and communications can get back to their core mission and their core release rates and programming. Fiji asks, one of the things I've been interested in is releasing content at a consistent rate. What do you think it'll take for the ministry to meet this goal? Developing a consistent release schedule is key growth in any sort of entertainment venture, which we are. So developing a realistic schedule is necessary to meet that goal, and developing the staff to support that. With the ministry right now, it's just a few people, so developing shows and coordinating schedules and all that becomes roadblocks to a consistent release rate. So in order to meet the goal, you first have to develop the staff to support that goal, and then establish a realistic goal to achieve. So releasing a video every month is doable now. Releasing a video every 2 weeks is even better. All right. Fiji asks, in what ways do the training programs you have in mind differ from the tutorials I created during my term as minister? Training programs are not different from tutorials. They're meant to supplement them. So a staffer can watch the tutorial and see how it's done. The training program is more for a minister, a deputy, or a senior staff member to come in and have a session with a new person who wants to learn how to do this and walk them through those programs, show them the video, show them how things work, and have that person demonstrate that they understand what's going on. So that way the minister or the deputy and the senior staff know that if they assign this person to a task, they're not going to get frustrated and they can handle the task that's being assigned to them. So it's more of a supplement, or have the tutorial supplement an overall program to ensure that our staff are able to produce and able to perform and have an understanding of what they need to do. All right. How can the Ministry of Radio work with other ministries to produce engaging content? We've already started that. We have the role play interviews. We're working with the Ministry of Culture. So we're reaching out to a new audience. Working with, one of the things I wanted to work on, and we're starting that, is working with Foreign Affairs to develop programs with other regions. We're also looking to start spreading our videos through our embassies to those regions, so our content's reaching more people. Home Affairs, we've working on behind the scenes is introduction videos to the various ministries, so it could be used as a recruiting tool or an introduction for new staff members to learn what TNP's government is and what it's doing and where they can join to help facilitate the government. Are there any ideas for shows you're interested in creating but you don't have time to complete this term? We tried doing town halls for an election cycle, and it was a lot of push and stress on the staff overall, but I do want to see more election related shows from the ministry, and unfortunately we couldn't do that with the judicial elections because of scheduling conflicts. So that would be something I would like to see for September, but with our current staff levels, I'm not sure what form that could take and what form it could take in the future. All right. PG asks, how can we ensure that election coverage does not sway election results? Is there a way to fairly cover all the candidates? With the town halls that we did, our philosophy behind that was we would do all the candidates, we would give them all equal access, or we would give none of them access. Everybody should have the same opportunities in the elections. We also treated all the candidates the same. I mean, whether they considered themselves a joke candidate or a serious candidate, they all had the same opportunities. We didn't pick or choose who got what coverage, and they all got the same amount of time and opportunity to present themselves. So if we look into future election shows, that's something that we need to continue, is we treat everyone the same. Everyone gets the same opportunity to present themselves, and we don't select who we think will be the right person. Also, especially with the technical behind the scenes stuff that has to go with producing a show, holding off on publishing the town halls till after the election, I think helps prevent us from swaying particular voters one way or another, because some candidates are not comfortable with voice chat, some prefer text, and voice chats are easier to edit and present than a text chat through the Ministry of Radio. So keeping on with that track is publishing afterwards, in fair opportunities. What do I think is the hardest part of my job? That would be doing the ministry amount of work with few people and support. As the question was asked earlier, we're understaffed. So the Ministry of Radio right now tends to be a 1 or 2 person job. So on top of my normal minister duties, advising on the executive council, producing shows, scheduling shows, I script shows, I edit shows, I publish shows. So you have an entire ministry worth of work going through 1 or 2 people, and it's a constant balancing act between developing the ministry and producing for the region. All right, next question is, what role do festivals play in content creation for radio? And how important is it for radio staffers to be present at festivals in order to capture show content? Festivals are a godsend for the Ministry of Radio. Being understaffed, it helps that we have these outside shows that we can cover. It's, lack of a better term, it's free content for us. Plus, the festivals are getting larger coverage and long-term coverage. Having the PacificCon videos up help expose TNP and that convention to a larger audience. Festivals such as Drop in the Ocean, we have people who can't make town halls, can't make AMAs, but now they can go back and look at video recordings of the things and find out what happened. So maybe next time they come in and participate. So festivals are great, and having more staff that will be able just to come in and record someone else's AMA or even another government's AMA is just, it would be a key aspect of radio that we need to further develop. Where do you see yourself in the executive next term? Kind of a difficult question. I do have further goals within the region I would like to achieve, but I also want to ensure that the Ministry of Radio is taken care of. I don't want to move on without knowing that there's going to be somebody who's going to be able to come in and keep the ministry active and keep it growing, because a slowdown or mismanagement at this part would do harm that we won't be able to recover from immediately. All right. Where do you see radio in the future? What do you think the future holds for the ministry and MBS? If we keep on growing and establishing the foundations for long-term success, the Ministry of Radio can not only be a solid contributor to the region's growth, but we can use it to grow the game itself. We saw several times how outside media has played a role in the growth of the game. We saw some Reddit posts, we saw Drew's videos, and the influx of players. While they gave us some short-term growth, if we could develop radio into a basically multimedia platform, not only on YouTube, but maybe in some other areas, and get that kind of level of professionalism you see on some of the other streamers and other shows that have been developed over time, with that consistent schedule, with the interesting content that we've started producing, we can grow further than just a regional broadcast. We can grow to a game-changing broadcast. But all that revolves around what Fiji and I have been doing at the beginning here, and is establishing the foundation and basically the ethics behind how this ministry is going to grow. Do you see MBS as a competitor to EBC Radio and NS Today, or is it the function of MBS primarily to serve TNP? There's no reason we can't be both. MBS is a regional government-controlled entity. We're here to promote and develop our region, but there's no reason why we cannot reach out into the larger goal of the game. Covering more international topics helps the region. It helps our players know what's going on in the larger game, may get them interested in other aspects of the game that they wouldn't normally be. So developing those helps TNP. So it's all an interlinked kind of system here that we're trying to grow. So, yeah, we can be competitors. I think we can do it better than they can. But at the same time, we also need to make sure that we're growing our region itself, because that is our primary mission. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. Sorry about the technical issues, but that storm came through at the worst possible moment.